The dining hall glittered with crystal and gold, laughter bouncing off marble walls. Amara knelt on the cold floor, a shattered wine glass beside her trembling hands, red wine soaking into the fabric of her uniform like a wound. "Clean it," his mother hissed, "before our guests think we let animals into this house." Laughter rippled through the room. Amara's fingers shook as she gathered the broken glass, one shard slicing her palm. She didn't cry out. She had learned not to. Beside her, his younger sister leaned close, voice low enough only Amara could hear. "You'll never give birth to this family's heir." Amara's hand moved instinctively to her stomach. Across the hall, hidden behind a painting older than the mansion itself, a small camera blinked red. Somewhere, in a dark car 3 blocks away, a man watched every second on a tablet screen, his jaw tightening until his knuckles turned white. "Boss," his bodyguard whispered. "Say the word." Min-Jae's eyes never left the screen. "Not yet," he said quietly. "Let them show me exactly who they are." 3 weeks earlier, Seoul's underworld feared one name, Kang Min-Jae. At 29, he ran an empire built on silence and control. Enemies who crossed him disappeared. Rivals who doubted him regretted it. Behind steel doors and tailored suits, few knew the coldest man in Korea had a heart he kept locked away, until the night everything changed. It was raining the night he was ambushed outside a warehouse in Itaewon. 3 bullets. 1 narrow escape. He collapsed in an alley behind a small apartment building, blood pooling beneath him, vision blurring at the edges. That was when Amara found him. She was a nurse finishing a night shift, wrapped in an oversized coat, umbrella tilted against the wind. She saw him first as a shadow slumped against a wall. Then she saw the blood. Hey, stay with me," she said, dropping to her knees beside him, pressing both palms against the wound in his side. "Don't," he groaned, trying to push her hand away. "You don't know who I am." "I don't care who you are," she snapped, already tearing a strip from her scarf. "You're a person bleeding on the ground. That's all that matters right now." She got him inside her small apartment, stitched what she could with shaking hands, stayed awake the entire night watching his fevered breathing. When he finally opened his eyes at dawn, the first thing he saw was her, exhausted, hands stained red, refusing to leave his side. "Why did you help me?" he asked, voice hoarse. She looked at him like the answer was obvious. "Because you're human." Something in Min-Jae, something buried under years of blood and duty, cracked open. He returned the next day, then the day after. Soon he was finding reasons to see her, sitting in her cramped apartment for hours just talking, something he hadn't done with another person in years. She didn't fear him. She challenged him. She teased him about his silences until he laughed, really laughed, for what felt like the first time in his adult life. "You know," she said one evening, curled up on her couch with tea in her hands, "you're not as scary as people say." "Careful," he said, the corner of his mouth lifting. "That's the first time anyone said that to my face and lived." "Is that a threat, Mr. Mafia boss?" "It's a warning," he said. "I don't let people this close very often." "Maybe that's your problem," she said softly. Months later, in a quiet garden overlooking the Han River, he knelt in front of her, box in hand, heart pounding harder than it ever had in a gunfight. "I've built an empire," he said, his voice unsteady for the first time anyone could remember. "But none of it means anything if you're not standing beside me. Marry me, Amara." Tears filled her eyes. "Even knowing what your world is, even knowing what people will say about us, about me, especially knowing that," he said, taking her hands in his. "Because none of it matters. Only you do." She said yes. His family did not celebrate. At the engagement dinner, his mother, Madame Han, sat rigid at the head of the table, her smile a blade wrapped in silk. The moment Amara stepped out of the room, the smile vanished. "A foreigner," she said coldly. "A black foreigner. Do you understand what you are doing to this family's name?" "I understand I'm marrying the woman I love," Min-Jae said flatly. "That's the only thing I need to understand." "She will never belong here," his mother warned, each word sharp as glass. "Mark my words, Min-Jae. She's my wife," he said, rising from his seat. "That's all that matters." They married in a small, private ceremony. No extended family, no press, just two people choosing each other against the weight of an entire world's expectations. In the quiet after, wrapped in each other's arms, Amara whispered against his chest. "I know your family hates me." "They don't know you," Min-Jae murmured, pressing a kiss to her hair. "Give them time. And if they never come around?" He tilted her chin up gently. "Then it will always be you and me. That's enough for me." What neither of them knew was that time would not soften his family. It would only sharpen their cruelty. And it would take everything Min-Jae had to protect the woman who once saved his life, without her ever knowing he was watching. If you believe real love shouldn't have to fight this hard for acceptance, drop a red heart below. Subscribe now because his family thinks he's gone, and what they're about to do will change everything. 3 months into the marriage, Min-Jae called a family meeting in the mansion's main hall. "I'm leaving for Macau," he announced, his voice even businesslike. "A situation with one of our shipping partners needs my direct attention. I'll be gone at least a month." His mother's eyes flickered, something close to relief. "How unfortunate," she said, not sounding unfortunate at all. Amara stood beside him, fingers laced through his. "A month?" she asked quietly, once they were alone in their room. "Maybe longer," he said, cupping her face in his hands. "I need you to be strong. Can you do that for me?" "I can do anything if I know you're coming back," she said. He kissed her forehead, guilt twisting quietly in his chest, because it was a lie, not the mission. The mission was real, but he wasn't going to Macau. That night, his most trusted bodyguard, Tae-sung, met him in the underground garage. "Everything's ready, boss," Tae-sung said, handing him a small case. "Cameras are installed in every major room. Kitchen, hallways, the dining hall, even the garden. The only room untouched is your bedroom. I made sure of that." "Good," Min-Jae said, opening the case, checking the feed on a tablet. "Clean footage, every angle covered." "Boss," Tae-sung said carefully, "can I ask something?" "Say it. Why not just confront your mother directly? Why all this?" Min-Jae's jaw tightened. "Because money has been disappearing from the family accounts for 6 months. Someone inside this house is stealing from me, feeding information to a rival family. I need to know who, and I need to see how they treat Amara when they think no one's watching." Tae-sung hesitated. "And if it's your mother?" "Then it's my mother," Min-Jae said, voice like stone. "I don't care whose blood runs in their veins. If they've betrayed this family or hurt my wife, they'll answer for it." "What if they hurt Madam while you're away?" Tae-sung asked quietly. Min-Jae's grip tightened around the tablet. "I'll be watching every second. The moment it goes too far, I move. Until then, we wait. We let them show me who they really are." He left that night in a blacked-out car, driven not to the airport, but to a private apartment 4 blocks from the estate. From there, he watched. The morning after Min-Jae left, everything changed inside the mansion. Amara woke to find her closet emptied, her belongings dumped into a small guest room at the back of the house, the one near the laundry, with a cracked window and no heating. "Mother Han?" she asked, standing in the hallway, confused. "Someone moved my things." "I moved them," Madam Han said without looking up from her tea. "That room was too large for you anyway. You'll take the servants' quarters until my son returns." "But this is my home too," Amara said carefully. "Min-Jae and I." "My son is not here," Madam Han cut in sharply, finally meeting her eyes. "And in this house, without him, you are nothing. Do you understand?" Amara said nothing. She swallowed the words rising in her throat and walked away. By the second day, she was scrubbing floors before sunrise. By the third, she was serving breakfast to the family and eating leftovers alone in the kitchen. His younger sister, Ji-woo, seemed to take particular pleasure in it. "Careful with that tray," Ji-woo said one morning, deliberately bumping Amara's elbow so the dishes clattered. "We don't want the help breaking anything expensive." I'm not the help, Ji-woo, Amara said quietly, steadying the tray. Ji-woo smiled coldly. Then act like it. Laundry became Amara's responsibility for the entire household. 6 bedrooms, endless linens, hand-washing delicate items because the machine ruins good fabric. Her hands cracked and bled in the cold water. No one seemed to notice. No one seemed to care. One afternoon, she found her favorite dress. The pale blue one Min-Jae had bought her on their honeymoon, torn to ribbons on her bed. She stood frozen, staring at the fabric, throat tight. An accident, Ji-woo said from the doorway, not even trying to sound convincing. These old fabrics tear so easily. Amara said nothing. She folded the ruined dress carefully, as if it might still be saved, and placed it in a drawer. That evening, in the small apartment across town, Min-Jae sat motionless in front of the monitors, watching his sister smirk as she walked away from Amara's room. His hand curled into a fist on the desk. "Boss," Taesung said carefully, standing behind him. "You've been watching for 6 hours straight. She hasn't cried once?" Min-Jae said quietly, almost to himself. "Not once in front of them." "She's strong," Taesung offered. "She shouldn't have to be," Min-Jae said, voice low and dangerous. "Not in her own home." On the screen, Amara sat alone on the edge of a narrow servant's bed, staring at her cracked, reddened hands. Then softly, she looked toward the small photo on her nightstand. The one of her and Min-Jae laughing on a beach somewhere, sun-drenched and unaware of anything cruel in the world. "Come home soon," she whispered to the photo. "I miss you." In the apartment across town, Min-Jae closed his eyes. "Not yet," he told himself, though every instinct screamed at him to walk through that door right now. "Not yet. Let them show me everything." But even as he said it, he wondered how much more he could watch before he broke his own rule. If you think his family has no idea what's coming for them, hit like right now. Comment below. Would you have walked through that door already? Or waited like Min-Jae? Subscribe. The final batch is where everything comes to a head. 2 weeks into Min-Jae's absence, his cousin Hyun-woo arrived at the estate. A man with expensive tastes and a gambling debt he'd been hiding from the family for months. He needed money fast, and he'd already decided who would take the blame if anything went missing. Late one night, while the house slept, Hyun-woo slipped into Madame Han's private study and took a diamond bracelet from her jewelry box. One she rarely wore but would absolutely notice missing. He wrapped it in cloth and pushed it beneath the mattress in Amara's small room at the back of the house. By morning, the accusations had already begun. "My bracelet is gone," Madame Han announced at breakfast, voice tight with theatrical alarm. "The diamond one. It was in my study last night." "Maybe it's misplaced," Amara offered carefully, setting down a plate of rice. "I don't misplace things," Madame Han snapped. "Search the house. Start with her room." Amara's stomach dropped. "You think I didn't say anything," Madame Han said, smiling thinly. "But if you have nothing to hide, you won't mind." 2 of the house staff searched her room under Ji-woo's watchful eye. Took less than 3 minutes to find the bracelet beneath the mattress. "Thief!" Ji-woo shouted, holding it up like a trophy. "I didn't take anything," Amara said, backing away, voice cracking. "I don't even know how that got there." "Liar!" Madame Han's hand cracked across Amara's face before anyone could stop her. The sound echoed through the hallway. Amara's hand flew to her cheek, tears springing to her eyes, but she didn't cry out. Across town, Min-Jae watched the slap happen in real time. He was on his feet before he realized he'd moved. "Boss!" Taesung started. "Get the car," Min-Jae said, voice like ice cracking. 10 more minutes, boss," Taesung said quickly. "We're this close to exposing everyone. Not just your mother." Min-Jae stood frozen, hands braced on the desk, chest heaving. On the screen, Amara stood alone, cheek reddened, eyes wet, spine straight, refusing to fold in front of them. 10 minutes, he said finally, sitting back down, hands still shaking. That's all they get. That evening, the humiliation moved to an audience. Madame Han hosted a dinner for business partners, and Amara was ordered to serve, dressed in a plain gray uniform 2 sizes too large. "This is our housekeeper," Madame Han said smoothly. "Very hard-working." One guest, an older woman in an expensive coat, studied Amara with open disdain. "She's too dark to be his wife anyway," she said, sipping her wine. Laughter rippled around the table. Amara set down the bottle carefully and turned toward the kitchen. Chin lifted. Ji-woo stepped into her path. Amara stumbled, the tray crashing down, a wine glass shattering, red wine spreading across her uniform. The table erupted in laughter. "Clean it," Madame Han hissed, "before our guests think we let animals into this house." Amara knelt, gathering broken glass with shaking hands. A shard sliced her palm. "You'll never give birth to this family's heir," Ji-woo whispered, crouching beside her. Amara's hand moved instinctively to her stomach. The hidden camera caught it perfectly. Across town, Min-Jae went still. "Tae-sung, rewind that. Now." Tae-sung zoomed in on Amara's trembling hand over her stomach. Min-Jae was already reaching for his jacket. "Get every guard ready. We're going home. Now." The mansion doors burst open. Conversation died instantly. Heavy footsteps echoed across marble as Min-Jae walked in. Black suit. 30 bodyguards fanned out behind him. Guests rose in confusion. "Son," Madame Han said, forcing a smile. "You're home early." He didn't look at her. He walked straight past the table to Amara, still kneeling on the floor, glass in her bleeding palm. He knelt in front of her, gently lifting her chin. "Look at me," he said softly. Her composure finally broke. "I didn't want you to worry," she whispered, tears spilling over. He pulled her into his arms, holding her like she might disappear. Then he stood, turning to face the room, voice low and lethal. "Who touched my wife?" "Silence. Play it," Min-Jae ordered Tae-sung. A screen descended over the dining table. Every camera, every room, every insult, every slap, every torn dress, every lie played in front of the stunned guests, including Hyun-woo planting the bracelet, caught clearly on the study camera. Madame Han's face drained of color. "Min-Jae, I can explain. You had 3 weeks," he said. "You chose this." Ji-woo burst into tears, begging. Hyun-woo confessed on the spot, collapsing into a chair. Guests who had laughed hours earlier now sat in stunned silence, unable to meet anyone's eyes. Min-Jae stripped his mother and sister of their standing in the family, removed Hyun-woo from the estate entirely, and made it clear, in front of everyone, that anyone who treated Amara with anything less than respect would answer to him personally. Later that night, in their room, he knelt beside her, taking her bruised hands in his. "I promised you'd never stand alone," he said quietly. "From today, no one will ever make you bow your head again." Amara smiled through tears. "Home was never this mansion," she whispered. "It was always wherever you were." He pressed his hand gently over her stomach. "And now there'll be 3 of us." Months later, their daughter was born in early spring. The elderly maid who had once comforted Amara in secret became a permanent, cherished part of their household. The mansion that once echoed with cruelty now echoed with laughter. Proof that love, loyalty, and respect had outlasted every attempt to break them. If this story touched your heart, drop a below and tell us your favorite scene. Like this video, share it with someone who loves emotional romance stories, and subscribe for more unforgettable Afro-Korean love stories.